Okay, so let me screen share mine, which is that one, I think. No. So the zoom is just appearing on the wrong place, the most inconvenient place on my screen. There we go. Dashboard. There we go. Okay, so I'll be going through my giving, and my giving is all to do with the donations, looking after your donors, your donations, gift aid and GADS claims to HMRC, thank you letters, etc. All that is included in the my giving. The second part of the webinar today will be to do with my fund accounting. And that's all to do with the accounting, the bookkeeping, return of parish finance, finance reports, etc. Now, obviously, there's a link between the two, that the donations, the GADs, however the donations receive, they'll be going into the accounts as different income going into different bank accounts. So the two programs integrate together to save you work. So you're not having to enter information in one program and then enter exactly the same information in the second program. It will integrate, and if you want, and I'll show later, you can have that done automatically. So each night when donations are entered into my giving, overnight those donations imported into my fund accounting automatically, and they'll simply appear in the accounts in the next day. So I'll give a very brief overview of my giving, a brief overview of my fund accounting. If you've got any questions, either now or after, please, as Stephen said, please feel free to use the Q&A section, and I'll get back to you next week. I'm only covering parts of programs because there's so much in there. So if you're not sure, please drop me a question. Okay, I will just show, before I move off this dashboard screen, I will actually scroll down. So you see at the moment, there's nothing. But if I click onto, because I'm doing this at the moment as a multiple organisation. So if you're a single church, it will come up with this automatically. If you're a parish, then you can pick either the parish, which is reporting at the moment, or an individual church. And if you wanted, you could also pick an individual year as well, but I'm just going to leave it on the current year. So we've got, as you can see, some stats, some pie charts, bar charts, etc. at the bottom of the screen, just to give you a snapshot of information. So you can see very quickly here your donations history, how much you've had as gift aided, as GADs, unclaimable, and tax refunds. We haven't done any tax claims in our sample system, which is why they're zero. But you can see here everything looks fairly okay there. But in this year, we've got an awful lot of unclaimable donations. Now, the purpose of these snapshots is one for you to have a look at, but you might look at that and go, well, why have we suddenly got so many unclaimable donations? And there could be a valid reason. It could be a legacy that you can't claim gift aid on. It could be a CAF check or something that you can't claim gift on. So there could be reasons, but it could also be a mistake. Or it could be something that you go back to the donor and say, would you sign a gift aid declaration? And then it converts its phones. So that's why that information there. This on the right, you can see when your last gift aid, when your last GADS claim was done. GADS, you've got 2 taxes to do the claim. So again, if you're starting to get close to that 2 years, it will highlight it. You can see if nothing's been done to remind you to do a GADS claim if you're not part of the gift aid light scheme, or you can see the total claim. And if I scroll down, maybe because I used to be a treasurer, but probably more of my interest here will be on these pie charts. So you can see how much your donations as total, how much is given as cash, check, envelope, contactless, online donations, standing orders. You can see the full breakdowns. If you hover over any of them, you can see it'll give you the exact figure of each of the different elements. And then on the left-hand side, you've got donations by purpose, so how people give to different appeals, how that's spread amongst all of your donations received in that particular year. So that's just at the bottom of the dashboard screen. But if I go to the main screen where you'll see most of the information related to people will be the donor screen. If I just click Rosie for a moment, and then I'll just scroll down a little bit. So you've got on the left-hand side, you can search for people, you can enter the name, the reference, you can click on the name in the list if you want to find them. Left-hand side, you've got the donors' names and addresses. The right-hand side, you've got extra information if the donor's given it you, if you've got permission to hold it. At the bottom of the screen, this is where you've got all the donations. So however a donor has donated, whether it's an envelope that you've entered money into My Giving, whether it's a direct debit that they've got set up that's coming, whether it's a credit card donation they've given, however they've given and donated, all that information will be shown on the one donor's record, which means you shouldn't have and you don't need multiple donor records for the same donor. One record, everything is included in that one record. If you have people that donate, say, by Just Giving, if you have a sponsored event, somebody donates by Just Giving, that information can be imported in, and you'll see we've got a column here for claimed externally. What that means is that Just Giving has claimed that money. So yes, you can bring it in for thank you letters for information, but the program won't claim on it because it knows it's been done. It knows it's been done by Just Giving. So again, the whole idea is to get everything into one donor record for your reporting and analysis. Rosie, I know, has got a regular gift. So we can click on the regular gift tab and it'll show me that information there. So I can see how much she's giving regularly. If we've had any contacts from Rosemary, say she's just signed a new declaration, we can have that information. If she signed them in the past, we'd see a list of the previous ones. The current declaration information, oops, gone a bit high there. Let's move down a little. Is all under the declaration tab. So on the left-hand side, you can see we've got the declaration for Rosemary, and it's still valid because there's no valid true. If she normally gives by standing order or by direct debit, we can set that up. If she gives to a normal purpose, if she's got an envelope, we can set that up as well. So we just, if we set an envelope number up for Rosie, when we see that envelope, we just type envelope 123, it knows which donor to record that donation against. You don't need a manual link between envelope number 123 is linked to Rosie, I enter Rosie's. The program will do all that for you. If they sign a pledge, if they pledge to give a certain amount a month or a year, you can record that details down for your records, for your reports. We've also got a free My Giving, and actually we've also got a free My Fund Accounting app. But in My Giving, it's really aimed at the donor. So the donor can see their donor record, they can see the donations they've made, they can see the tax that's been claimed on it, they can produce a statement if they do a self-assessment, they can produce reports for how much tax has been reclaimed through gift aid, they can sign a new gift aid declaration, they can make new donations, and all that information, if they move address, they can change it. My Giving will be updated automatically. If they sign a new declaration through the app, My Giving is updated automatically. If they make a new donation, it's all recorded in automatically. So there's nothing you need to do in addition. It's all done automatically for you to save you as much work as possible. And that's really our, if you like, our design philosophy between both programs, is to try and get as much done automatically or by the system to save as much manual input as possible. So that's the donor screen. If I go back to the dashboard, when we come to enter donations, so let me just move that down to the bottom. When we come to enter donations, you can, and there'll be circumstances where you need to enter information manually into My Giving, and cash envelope donations, for example. So you can either enter them individually on each record, you can enter them as like a spreadsheet where My Giving will show. Actually, I'll just quickly go into that screen. It's quicker to see it. It's quicker to see than it is to describe it, actually. There we go. So if I put it as today's date, and I'll select the purpose as, there we go. And then at the bottom of the screen, you'll see all the donors listed there, and you can literally go into the main column and type in the amount that each donor is given. There's a total at the top. So a control total. So whatever your banking is, you put the control total in, and then you'd enter the amounts for each donor, assuming that balances. Then you just click transfer, and it records all those donations against the donor record. If you have GADs, if you've got your loose plate collections and you want to enter those in, you can do that. That's anonymous. GADs generally is anonymous. We then just add, just select the organisation again. If you're a single church, you would need to do this today. Show how much GADs has been entered in this tax year. You can enter the amount, and it can be the total amount of the collection plate that's eligible for GADs. So let's say it's 200. I'm going to say, let's just say it's cash. It's eligible for GADs. So the program does some checks to make sure, yes, as far as it's aware, it is eligible for GADs. You've marked it as cash. It's after the relevant date range. And if I just move Zoom across and I click save, and that's now saved, ready to be claimed on. And you can enter that. If you wanted to enter just one amount for the whole year, assuming you've got the records, you can do that. If you want to enter week by week, then you can do that as well. So I'll go back to dashboard. So that's where you've got the donor records, entering things manually. You can also import donations as well. So if you use, if you've got access to online banking and you download your bank statement as a CSV, all the online banking that we know will download at least as a CSV. Some do it as a QIF as well, but CSV is certainly one. So I'll do import CSV. Let me just pick this test one. Now I've used this test one before. So what I've got in with the bank statement, so at the bottom where you've got yellow, these are donations that the program doesn't recognise. So it hasn't imported these in again, or you haven't allocated them to a donor and told the system to remind it. So you need to say, well, this one is Sophie Baxter. I need to select the donor and allocate it to that person. For ones where you have done it before and you've told the system to remember it, you don't need to allocation. It automatically remembers it from the previous bank statement. So now you can just tick to say, yep, these have all been, I'm happy to import all these. Or you can just do select all and then import it in. Now, if David Duggan, for example, his £50 to general purpose, if that was actually being split, so let's say that's split between two purposes, here you just click add and add the second purpose in. You don't need to do it once. It remembers it for next time. It could be second, third, fourth one, as many split as you need. And then they just import it in, import it as separate, and they breakdown that you want. The bottom of the screen, you click import, and that's the donations imported. Now we've also got some online donation buttons. So I haven't got time to go through all of these. I will pick two that I'll go through. So you've got the credit card, debit card donations. These are all built in with the system. So you just, once you've set them, once you said, yes, create the button, you just copy and paste the code onto your website. You can have them for parish-wide. So you could have one button on your parish website. And when the donor donates, they pick which church they want to donate to. And in addition to that, you could say, well, actually, I just want one for St. John's Church or for St. John's website. Exactly the same button, but it might give you, say, just do it this time for St. John's. It gives you a different code. You copy and paste that onto St. John's website, and that is one now linked for St. John's. And that's for all of the buttons. So we've got credit card, debit cards, donations at the top, direct debit, and then open banking or direct bank transfers. So I'll do direct debits and open banking. Credit card donations work the same as any of the systems. So if I enter, the donor would enter their details. They don't need to enter the full address. They can pick it once they've done their postcode. This is, because I've got this one set up as a branch, this is what I mean. They'd pick now the church they wanted to donate to. If it was already linked to one church, that would already be pre-filled. The purpose, you can decide what purposes the donor gets to pick from the Donate Now button. Is it just general purpose? Or if you've got, say, an organ restoration appeal, you could have those on, but you can pick and choose which ones you want displayed in this list. So I'm just going to say building. The amounts, you can set the own amount, your own amounts that you want displayed. So you can see we've got a range and a frequency. You can set a different frequency. The donor can also change the amounts if they wish. On the option increase, if you want to show this, you can also set the option, the annual percentage increase that a donor can then pick. So we've got 2.5%, you might want 5%. You can set that and put that on. Now, the reason why we've put the pence in is when we were doing research on this, and we had it actually set for 5%, we had a number of donors come back and say, oh, 5% increase on that, that sounds like quite a lot. I don't think I'll go ahead with it. So when we actually turned it around and said, okay, well, would you increase it by 50p a month? They said, oh, yes, I do 50p. Yes, that's quite manageable. I can do that. Well, 50p with a £10 donation is 5%. It's just how it was presented to them that was different. And that's why we've got the option to include the pence, because that's changes for each of the different amounts that they've got. So they'd say, you can say, yes, I want to donate £10 a month. I'll have the option for the annual increase, and the programme will look after that automatically. So it was set the direct debit up for £10 a month now. After 12 months, it would increase it by the 25p. Email the donor to say your new donation amount is £10, 25p, and switch the direct debit over to the new amount. 12 months after that, it'll go through exactly the same process again. It looks after it all automatically for you. You can gift aid the donation. I won't do it this time. The transaction fee for this one will be 36p. This is an optional question. If you want to ask the donor, you can say, would you like to increase your donation to cover the transaction fee of 36p? They can do, or they can't. You see, it will say, it wouldn't normally say further support data developments. Data developments would actually be the name of the church rather than us. So I'm going to say, yes, I would. I'm not a robot, and continue. It then comes up with the direct debit screen. So this is where the donor would then enter their details. If it requires dual authorization, then there's a tick box at the bottom for that. If not, they can set up the direct debit. It's asking them to confirm, is that all correct? Confirm. And that's it. That's it all now set up. If I go back to my giving, we've got William Jones. That one. You see in notifications, you now see William Jones set up there. But if I go to donor records, if I go to William, which is that one, you see the records all being added in automatically. And at the bottom of the screen, the regular gift is automatically set up. So I haven't had to do anything. It's all done that. The program's notified me through the notification. And then when the standing order comes through, that will automatically be shown on the gifts. If we've integrated it with my giving, the next day it would automatically be shown in my giving. Sorry, my fund accounting in the accounts program. So just to show how that link works, if I go to admin and then export, I can link it to my fund accounting. Again, because I'm multi-charity, I've got to pick the church. So it's that one. Click link to my fund accounting. It asks for the email address of the treasurer because that might be a different person. So I'm just going to put my email address in. click send. And what that sends now is what's called a token. So it's an encrypted email to that person. There'll be a specific link in there. And the treasurer will click on that link, log into my fund accounting, and that will then tie those two churches together. It's a secure way of then linking those two together, because it's done through, you've logged in with your password, you've sent an encrypted token, they've clicked on the token, logged in with their password. So it goes through to the correct organisation. And in my fund accounting, so I've now switched to my fund accounting, I'd go into, what they would then see if I just click onto this. So I'm on the wrong one again. They would then see this screen. So they've got two options, or the treasurer would have two options. You can either do the link manually. So you'd say dates from and to when you want to import the donations across. And even if you overlap dates in future times, my fund accounting will know which donations it's already imported, so it won't import the same donations twice. Or you can have it done automatically. That's one I tend to pick, where overnight it will then import the donations automatically. I don't need to think about it. I enter them in my giving one day, they appear in the accounts the next day. You can also link different purposes. So if you have, if you have a number of different purposes in my giving, say you have a general purpose and you have an organ illustration, now they might well go to different income codes. You could have general donations going for the general income to the general purpose to a bank account. You could have organ restoration going to an appeals income code to a different bank account to a restricted fund. And this is how you set those up. So each purpose can go to its own income code, its own fund, and its own bank accounts down here. And you can have a reference to say, from my giving, just so you know where that donation's come from. You set that up, and then the program does it all in the background automatically. So look, focusing now more on my fund accounting. So under initialization, we've got a default set of nominal codes. So we've got Church of England, we've got different denominations, and they're really just to help you out. It's a default set of nominal codes. You don't have to use it. You could set up your own set of nominal codes by using the first time setup. You could look at other ones we've got set and use those if they're more appropriate. But the Church of England ones specifically, we've worked with different organisations to create a set. Now, they won't have all the nominal codes you want. They'll have some you don't need, but it gives you a fundamental basis to start from. And the advantage is they're already linked to the correct return of parish finance headings, so you don't need to do the linking. But if you've got it set up, if you're doing a parish, you can give each church within the parish the same basis for their nominal code. So they also start with the same structure, and then you can work from there, which when you're consolidating reports together can make it a lot easier and give a lot more simple reports from there. And then with funds, you can set up as many different funds as you wish. So we include some default funds, so general funds, agency for diocesan fees, etc. Pension funds are already in there. But when you, so I didn't want to add, I wanted to edit. But when you create a fund, you can say mission fund, and it will have money, designated money, handled designated, restricted, and endowment money. If you don't have endowment, say actually just going to handle designated, restricted. You just create the one fund and then tell the program which types of funds. My fund account will look after the rest of that all automatically. You can produce simplified reports that say, show me what's in the mission fund, and it'll show what's in the mission fund and group together the designated, restricted, endowment money. Or you could say, just show me what income we've had, what expenditure we've had for mission fund restricted, and it'll show all that breakdown as well. I'll go back to the dashboard. I'll quickly go through record income. So if you're manually entering transactions in, So let me change that to a church normally used for this. So if you manually enter transactions, this is probably the most flexible screen that we've got. We do also have a number of transaction assistants. So prepayments and accruals for year end, sales and purchase ledgers, loans and repayments, creditors and debtors. You can do all those through transaction assistants. It won't show you anything to do with debits and credits. It just says, where's the money coming from? Where's it going to? Which fund is it? And the program sorts everything else automatically. Nice user-friendly way. You don't have to be an accountant or bookkeeper to do it. So on here, left-hand side is to do with the bank account. So I might say, bank account, I'm paying in £400. Reference could be the paying in slip number, 222. Description could be collection. It could be for a specific event. You can put that details in. The reference and description you can all analyze and report on. On the right-hand side, you can then say, okay, we've received £400 into bank account. I'm going to allocate that to gift aid envelopes. Let's say it was for fabric restricted, but we didn't actually receive £400 into fabric restricted. We received 250 in store. Now the transaction doesn't balance because we're saying we're paying £400 into the bank account. We've only allocated £250 to an income code. So it won't allow us to save and post that because it'd be unbalanced accounts. But what we can do is say, add new elements and say, okay, the next part of the transaction maybe is to do with other planned giving. Actually, let's pick loose plate collections to the general fund. And you can just keep building up the transaction. So as many different elements as you wish. And then when it all balances, which I'll make this one do, then it allows you to post the transaction. Now, the big advantage of that is when you come to do your bank reconciliation, you've got one bank side transaction of the £400, which means the bank reconciliation is easy on that side. On the income expenditure side, you've got all of your correct breakdown for that. So you've still got the correct analysis, but it's all done on the one screen. If you use that transaction often, you can memorize it. So I mentioned earlier, I was a treasurer at a church. What I used to use that for was wedding fees, because you always had the same amounts going to the diocese, going to the PCC, going to the organist, going to bells, flowers, etc. So I'd create one transaction with all that split in, memorize it. Next time I had a wedding church, I'd recall that memorized transaction, change the name, change the date, and post it. And all the split was done automatically for me. I didn't need to think about it. I didn't need to work it out. A year end, if it changed for the next year, one transaction with a changed amount, and then everything would be correct after it. Every transaction is given a unique audit number, so you can put that on your paperwork. If you need to edit or change a transaction, My Friend Accounting will track that. It will give the new transaction a new audit number, a link to the old one saying this old one has been edited to the new one, and on the new one, this one was edited from the old one. So again, you've got a full audit trail of all the transactions that were changed. I'll go back to the dashboard. I mentioned earlier that we try and minimize the amount of manual entry that you have to do. So if you've got standing orders or regular gifts, you can set those in the program and import those in. Remember, if you've got My Giving, you've entered the donations in, those will automatically be imported in. So again, those are ones that you don't need to enter. For other transactions, again, if you've got access to open banking, you can import those in. So I'm running low on time, but if I just quickly go through this, import CSV, and you get those downloads and bank statements. It works exactly the same way. Of all the times that I want my Wi-Fi to suddenly have a pause, have a think about it. Okay, I'll describe what it could do. So exactly the same way as we had with, okay, I'll pick the wrong one. Okay, let me ignore that. So in exactly the same way that you could import into My Giving, it works exactly the same way. This time, one transaction line can be split between a number of different income codes or a number of different funds, rather than one donor and of different purposes. So it works the same way in that sense. Let's have a look at some reports, because I've got just over 5 minutes left. So under reports, under annual submission, we've got the return of parish finance. So if I select a year, refresh, you've got the supplementary questions that would say how many donors you've got, any questions that they've asked on the return this year, who the treasurer is, the date, the time, not the time, the date, and then you can just preview. And there's the return of parish finance, all set up, all with the correct headings, all updated, with the correct amounts split between unrestricted, restricted, the cash elements at the bottom of the screen. You can print that, you can save it as a PDF for your records. And if you want to submit it to Church House, you can just click Submit to Church House. Now, because we've got a live link to Church House down in London, we can get information back from them as well. So we can also produce analytics, charts and graphs, and that will show the last couple of years. So you can compare what you've got in My Fund Accounting this year compared to the previous couple of years that are in this one, the Return of Parish Finance, the Church of England portal. And there. Some of the reports, some of the things that we've got budgets within My Fund Accounting. I haven't got time to go through all the budgets, setting the budgets, but I will just show the budget reports. So I'm going to report it up to the end of last year because I know I've got transactions in for last year. I'll have it as mixed codes, and I'll just pick all the budgets I've got. Let's just pick a summary one so we can see that. And now so we can set the budgets up. You can set it as a total or monthly or have it spread different amounts for different months. But once you've got the budget in, you just then produce a report. The program tracks everything else behind the scenes. So you can see for this month, you've got the budget for each line, the actual and the variance. You've then got the year-to-date figures, and then you've got the figure for last year, the budget for last year for the same, the budget this year, and if you've got next year's in, it'll show that. You can then also see the total income of budgets, and again, what the variance is, month, year to date. You can see all the expenditure totals, exactly the same, expenditure total, and then overall income and expenditure totals combined, how you're running two budget variance for the whole year. You see, I've got all this. You can set this for different groups. If you've got different people that look after different budgets in there, which is exactly what we had to tell our church, then when Zoom moves out of the way, then what I used to do is you can name each one of your budgets. So I used to put a name in as to which different area or which different budget holder it was. So you can see I've got some here for trading. So if I just select all those, I can then use this budget report and email it to the person involved. So you can produce it as a PDF, attach it as an email. If I preview, this is now the budgets just for that budget holder. So they can see how they're doing for the month, what budgets they've got left for the year to date, and how they're doing on variance. And you can just email that out quickly and easily to them. How are we doing for time? Okay, other reports quickly. So we've got the SOFA, which I think is a really useful report, particularly for those people that aren't used. So maybe your PCC members that aren't used to reading finance reports. For your point of view, it's got your income, your expenditure, and then income minus expenditure and anything else that's happened. For those people on your committee that might not be used to reading finance reports, you can say essentially, ignore all the figures on that page. Every figure on that page, ignore it. The one line you want people to look at, which is the most common question I got asked, was How's the church doing? Are we receiving more money than we spent, or are we spending more money than we've received? Are we overdrawn or in profit, if you like to put it that way? And the line that we've put a double underline is the key line. So I said people don't need to look at the figures. They don't. If you're overdrawn, if you've spent more money than you've had in, there'll be brackets on this line. Brackets are bad news. So all the people need to see, or the trustees, if they're not happy with finance reports, just look on that line to see if there are any brackets. If there are brackets, it means that the church has spent more than it's received in. That gives people that aren't used to finance reports, it starts people engaging with the reports, because there's something there they can look at, they can understand very easily, and then they can start asking questions. Why have we overdrawn? What's happened? Why is the situation? Is it we spent restricted funds that we collected last year? It gives people a way in to the accounts that aren't used to reading finance reports, because all they're looking for essentially are brackets. They're not looking at figures. There are many other reports. I will just show one, how we're doing for time, just before we finish, which is again one I used to use for PCC meetings, which is a monthly income and expenditure. And it'll show just the nominal codes that you've used. It'll break it down by each month. So people can see this is the income. You can see we've got the totals for each month and the totals year to date, the expenditure. And then at the bottom, they've got the income minus expenditure. And that figure will match the figure that was on the sofa. You can produce balance sheet reports, trial balance reports, fund analysis reports, fund income and expenditure reports, a whole host of different reports in there. But I think I'm almost out of time. Just 1 minute left, just to share with you some developments we've got coming that will be coming online in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Is open banking. So I said, if you've got open banking, you can import your bank statements. We'll be actually doing that under transactions and open banking. You'll be able to see your live bank statements. So you'll be able to click on it and it will show you, if you've got access to online banking, it will show you a live bank statement right up to date. And even if you do faster payments today, it will appear on that list on that screen. Also, we've got payroll coming in. So we're integrating with the payroll system, and that will produce all the pay slips, email them to people, and record them as transactions into my fund accounting automatically. So it's a full payroll system integrated in. Just finally on the costs, if you're using Gift Aid Lite, my giving is free. So you can use it, you can use the apps, all that free of charge. If you're Gift Aid Lite members, then my fund accounting, to use the full my fund accounting, is an additional £10 per month, including VAT, includes technical support and all updates. If you're not part of Gift Aid Lite, then my giving is £15 a month. My fund accounting is £15 a month individually. If you have the two together, the combined total of the two, you get a discount on that, and it's £25 a month. Includes VAT, technical support, updates, etc. And I think I've gone over by 1 minute. Over to you, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen, for doing that, and thanks everyone for attending today. So now it's time to go for lunch. So have a nice break, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Thanks, everyone.